faithfully delivering value and interpreting the world's best books. Hi there, this is Sally Book Talks. Today, we're diving into the book Minimalist Thinking. The author, Mike Farrow, is a well known American speaker and trainer. He spent years at McKinsey, the top consulting firm, doing management consulting. In the book, he presents a minimalist approach to work called structured thinking. This approach makes your work easier, communication smoother, and helps you deliver perfect solutions faster than others, wowing your boss. So, what exactly is structured thinking? Structured thinking is a backwards way of thinking, starting from the conclusion. It's like running a science experiment. Begin with research, hypothesize what might happen, test it out, collect data, see if you're right or wrong, and then report the findings. You might wonder, what's unstructured thinking all about? Unstructured thinking picks off with data. In the workplace, when your boss tosses you a problem and wants advice, folks usually start by gathering heaps of data and diving into deep analysis. Then they sift through to find the good stuff and wrap it all up in a report with their analysis. Hopeful, earnest tone, hopeful, earnest, hopeful the boss will be wowed by all their hard work and thoroughness. This old school way of thinking, drawing conclusions from data, might seem solid, but it's got two big problems. First off, it leads to tons of pointless analysis. To nail the best advice, you crunch tons of data, chase every possible angle, then pick the winners. But really, you're wasting time on dead ends. Another downside is that it messes with communication. When you drop a massive report on your boss's desk, you'll probably just flip through it fast and chuck it. Then he'll ask you to sum it up quick. See, higher ups have zero time for long stories. They just want the bottom line, not your blood, sweat, and tears. Structured thinking fixes both issues perfectly. Structured thinking jumps straight to the answer. It starts with the conclusion, then backs it up or shoots it down. For starters, it steers you to sift the good stuff right away so you don't waste time on fluff. On the other hand, this approach always centers around the decision maker's interests, crafting logic from their perspective. This way, your communication becomes more efficient and your suggestions get adopted more easily. Just like experiments, structured thinking follows precise steps. First, propose recommendations. Make reasonable, valuable hypotheses based on the problem. Second, define the structure. Establish analytical and narrative logic. Third, analyze and adjust, verify or refute hypotheses through analysis. Finally, consolidate and output. Share your ideas with stakeholders. Now let's explore how to apply structured thinking using these 4 steps in detail. First, let's examine step 1, proposing recommendations. Suppose your boss asks, can you suggest the best way to increase profits by 1 million? What would you do? Your mind might race with options. Launch a new product, enter new markets, raise prices, or layoffs. These all seem decent, but if you start proposing hypotheses like this, you've already failed. Remember, problems never emerge randomly. There's always an underlying cause. Without understanding why we're solving this, you'll struggle to deliver what they truly need. If you investigate, you might discover the sales quarter ends in 3 weeks, with profits far below target. That's the real reason. Knowing this, your challenge becomes boosting profits short term. So scrap ideas like new products. Instead, hike prices across the board within 3 weeks or delay marketing to next quarter. That's why, initially, don't rush ideas. First, clearly define the problem. Beyond analyzing what's required, uncover the why behind it. Only then can you channel efforts effectively. After defining the problem, you'll likely generate multiple ideas. Here's the tough part. Facing multiple options, you must make the hard choice. Select just one. As an initial hypothesis, you'll feel pretty uncomfortable at first, even a bit skeptical. After all, it's breaking that old habit of analyzing before deciding. But structured thinking isn't a rigid one-way path. It's an iterative optimization process, meaning you don't need the perfect solution up front. If the hypothesis falters midway, you can swap it out. Choosing that initial hypothesis is just step one toward the final answer. To choose more rationally, ask yourself, which idea delivers better results? Which fits our needs? Which wins stakeholder support? And which is most achievable? This is essentially a quick evaluation of those ideas. After evaluating, you'll not only pick a starting hypothesis, but also rank them by priority. If the first hypothesis flops, you can immediately pivot to the next best idea and restart the process. Once you've chosen your initial hypothesis, build your core recommendation around it. The hypothesis solves the problem, but the core recommendation gets your idea accepted. To get your recommendation approved, make your audience genuinely care about it. But why should they care? 2 words: self-interest. They'll only listen and adopt your idea if it directly serves their own interests. So when presenting your core recommendation, don't just state what to do. Alongside your hypothesis, explain why we're doing it. That's the interest trigger. A strong core recommendation has 2 parts: an easy to grasp hypothesis and a valuable trigger point for stakeholders. Be crystal clear about how we'll execute. Never use vague jargon like fully utilize or strengthen efforts. These phrases aren't wrong, but they're useless. If you say fully utilize the info system, everyone interprets it differently. Some think we need new features. Others believe we should launch innovative projects within it. And some might assume we should lease the system externally for profit. If you clearly say we should test new marketing models using the info system, everyone instantly understands. Far more effective than vague terms like fully utilize. Only when your proposal is understood can it possibly be accepted. So how do you craft these trigger points? The method: tailor your phrasing to the target audience. Suppose your hypothesis is we should enter the European market. If pitching to the sales VP, no revenue is his core interest. So you'd say entering Europe could generate 80 million in sales revenue. For the marketing director, who cares about market share, shift gears. Tell her, this move could capture 40% of the European market share. Same approach for the HR head. We should enter Europe to build a large, diverse talent pool. Notice? Same hypothesis, but the trigger shifts with each audience. Sometimes you need to convince a group with conflicting interests. What then? This requires identifying priorities and steering the conversation. First, distinguish decision makers from attendees. Target your core pitch at the decider who holds power. Then select the trigger point that resonates most with them. Say the highest ranking manager prioritizes funding, while other supervisors care about marketing. Lead with the funding angle, then briefly mention marketing impact at the end. All right, you've now completed the proposed recommendation step. Next up, step 2, defining the structure. Building structure means grouping ideas and information logically. The goal: guiding your audience toward your conclusion. This is structured thinking's toughest yet most critical phase. It's not just categorizing ideas, it's building connections between them. Generally, you'll only use 2 basic structures: the layered structure and the splintered structure. Which one fits depends on the specific situation. But no matter which structure you choose, always place the core recommendation at the top. You build everything else based on it. Let's start with the layered structure. It's typically divided into 3 layers. The top layer holds your core recommendation. The middle layer points out changes in the current situation, events that bring opportunities or challenges, directly leading to your recommendation. The bottom layer introduces the problem's background, ensuring everyone has a basic understanding. Note, when thinking we build top-down, recommendation, changes, background, but when narrating, reverse it. So when speaking, start bottom-up, background first, then changes, then recommendation. Oh, it's like storytelling. Life was peaceful, then a threat emerged, and finally how it was resolved. This story format is easiest to grasp and accept. So when should you use the layered structure? First scenario, when your audience lacks background knowledge. If they're unfamiliar with the topic, they'll struggle to understand your core recommendation, and the context won't support it. The bottom layer's background ensures everyone starts from the same point. So, for example, say your department's workload keeps surging and current staff can't keep up. So, as department head, you propose hiring 5 new staff to your boss. Unfortunately, the stakeholder is a new boss who just transferred from another department. He doesn't oppose the idea, but he's clueless about the situation, making decisions tough. In this case, to persuade him, the layered structure is ideal. In the background section, introduce the team's workflow to the stakeholder. But describe how members work hard to meet company needs and the team's impact on performance. With this groundwork, the new boss understands your team's role, value, and impact, so he won't see it as just workload complaints. Our suggestions will also be more easily accepted. The second applicable scenario is when your audience resists. Sometimes, even before you start speaking, they show resistance and dissatisfaction toward your proposal. Maybe you're competing for the same resources, or your idea is too risky, or perhaps they simply dislike you. Whatever the reason, your job is to overcome this hurdle and get the plan approved. In the changes layer of the layered structure, provide solid reasons for action to help listeners drop biases, see the necessity, and follow your logic. For instance, say the FDA's recently cracking down on product labels, and several products similar to yours have been forced to reformat. So you propose the company should immediately change product labels, and the stakeholder is the packaging manager overseeing labeling. Clearly, he'll prefer the status quo because relabeling means overtime, budget overruns, and employee grumbling. But so your pitch must show the packaging manager that while changing labels now has costs, delaying action will make things worse. Therefore, in the changes layer, spell out the negative outcomes of not changing labels. For example, when product X was forced to reformat, it had to recall and destroy all stock, relabel new products, and lost huge market share during the process. By designing the changes layer well, you turn opponents from no way to let's do it, backing your core idea. So now let's discuss the column structure. Think of it like a stool. The core recommendation is the seat, and key points are the legs supporting it. To build this, first identify key points within your core recommendation, then create a separate column for each and fill each with details. So when should you choose the column structure? When stakeholders already know the topic, they skip lengthy background and want the recommendations fast. That's when the column structure fits perfectly. When presenting, follow the top-down logic you used while thinking. Lead with your core recommendation up front, then list supporting arguments one by one. Say you're a marketing director at a magazine, pitching for better sales of Trend Campus. You've got your core idea ready. We should target teens and young parents for Trend Campus marketing. This could bring $3 million in sales, $1 million in profit, and 15% margin boost. Breaking it down, your core idea has 3 pillars: product marketing, market positioning, and sales revenue. So under your core idea, create 3 columns. Next, expand each column's keywords into full sentences. For market positioning, single quote, our campaign should focus on 2 key segments. After defining main points, break each into subpoints, like under 2 segments, teen groups and young parent groups. A solid structure guides your narrative and points toward proper analysis. With the structure set, your plan is halfway done. Now, step 3, analysis adjustment. Structured thinking is hypothesis-based. Your analysis will prove or disprove your hypothesis. So nail this analysis. It must be necessary and sufficient. Necessary means focusing only on essential facts. Say you're proving young professionals are your app's target. You've surveyed users. At this stage, dive deep into that data. Analyze white-collar stats, group size, spending power, usage time, etc. If you waste time analyzing other groups or why they dislike your product, that's unnecessary analysis. Never waste energy on analysis that doesn't support your argument. Your analysis must also be sufficient. Only solid evidence will convince others your idea works. If your analysis is based on just 15 reviews, even if they all love your product, it's meaningless. Only market research with 15,000 consumers provides solid evidence for thorough analysis. If analysis confirms every point supporting your core idea, great. Your plan moves forward smoothly. If analysis disproves your points, don't panic. You've caught issues early, avoiding public embarrassment. Revise or replace flawed points, adjust your structure, and reanalyze. If multiple points fail, pause, check if your data fundamentally challenges your core recommendation. So far, you've likely worked solo or in a small team without sharing ideas externally. As they say, you can't see the forest for the trees. Focusing too long narrows perspective. Thus, knowing too much about the problem makes it hard to gauge others' receptiveness. After drafting your plan, chat with colleagues or your boss. They might offer valuable insights or spark refinements. Adjusting your plan at this stage is totally normal. Nobody gets it perfect first try. So never lose confidence when finding flaws. It doesn't mean starting over. Remember, every prior step clarified the problem, revealed stakeholder needs, and built crucial data. In structured thinking, each step brings you closer. Post-analysis, your content and structure are polished. Now, the final step. Delivery methods vary. Pitch your idea in seconds or email the plan to many at once. But in most companies, reports remain the gold standard. Reports handle complex data or graphics, convey bulk information clearly, and ease interpretation. A strong report includes title, executive summary, analysis, risk or opportunity list, and clear next steps. First, let's talk about crafting titles. If you want a strong first impression, never use bland titles like Proposal for Entering European Market. Those completely lack appeal. With structured thinking, just tweak your core recommendation to create eye-catching titles. For example, Breaking into Europe, an $80 million sales opportunity. Now, about executive summaries. An executive summary showcases your entire plan on one slide. Good news. Structured thinking already built it for you. That summary? It's your structure. For column structures, start with core recommendation, then key columns. For layered structures, begin with background, then changes, ending with recommendation. The analysis section speaks for itself. Just organize arguments following your summary's order. Pro tip, add a headline to each slide summarizing its key message, keeping everyone focused. What exactly are your data and analysis proving? After presenting arguments, dedicate one slide to risks and opportunities. For risks, explain their origin, potential impact, and mitigation strategies. For opportunities, describe them, their value, and how you'll capitalize. Don't skip this. It preempts objections and shows thorough preparation. Finally, the action plan. Show stakeholders what happens after approval. No detailed timelines needed. Just list 3 to 10 milestones with actions, timelines, and resources. This makes securing future resources much easier. Master these steps, and you'll see structured thinking isn't just efficient, it's transformative. It teaches focused effort, audience-centered communication, and iterative excellence over instant perfection. All right, minimalist thinking. That wraps up our book breakdown. Keynotes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.